long way to beat that. Roach is in for the rubber.
It's coming home. It's coming home, Ben. Miller, the curse is finally over. The curse is finally over. Remember, guys, we wrote the rules of the game. We wrote the rules back in, what was it, 150 years ago. We wrote the rules. This win is largely due to the support of you guys. Hey guys, we're back again. Russell Robertson live.
Robertson! Out of nowhere! Robertson! Out of nowhere! Robertson! Out of nowhere!
I've been absolutely stitched up there. I've been stitched up there as the dog in the background is going off and being a good guard dog. Thank you, Davo. He rang me today and said he's got a great little intro, and I thought it was just going to be some of my highlights. That was me drunk. Do you remember, guys? Do you remember that? That was just after the premiership over in Perth, and I was drunk. And you can see how drunk was I, Dave?
You could barely open your eyes from what I could see.
My eyes were like slits. Hey, but I wasn't the only one. I reckon all of these guys were drunk too. I've got a comments board up here. Hi, everyone. Robbo Live is back. It's great to be. Hey, everyone. How are you? Yes, say hello to each other. We're back, and it's the same names, the family of Robbo Live. It's good to hear from you all. I can't see you, but hey, keep the chat going because we're going to be here for the next 45 minutes or so previewing the big game against the Sydney Swans. Now, I wanted... Yeah, see all my comments here. This is how I stay tracked. So if I'm looking over here, that's what I'm doing. A lot has happened since that grand final and the last Robbo Live show, which you just saw, me drunk drinking. And I do have another whiskey here. Davo sorted me out. Thank you, Davo. One of our non-such triple grain whiskies. Thank you, non-such, for your wonderful support of our show over the last couple of years. You kept sending me whiskey. This is no muck around stuff. This is out of Tasmania, and it's really good, and it can have an effect. It had a massive effect on me. That wonderful night back in 2021 when we won the premiership against the Bulldogs. Plenty has happened since. I may have seen you all at the family day. Let me go to the boards here and just say g'day to the usuals. Nikki. Now, Davo, remember back in Robbo Live when we first started this, Nikki was always up and about with Matthew. They were stalwarts of the show, always commenting, always getting involved. Now, those two people got engaged on our show. I'm not sure if we can chuck that up on our Facebook Live as a memory later on. You've got to check it out. It's one of the great moments for me. On my show, someone got engaged. And from that, I got a bit of work out of it too, Dave. I got a gig out of it.
Did you?
Yeah, I said I must play the music. And they got me in. Phil and I went to that wedding, and it was absolutely wonderful, Nikki. It was a beautiful wedding. You looked amazing. And a lot of the Melbourne supporters were there, actually. A lot of my Demon Army friends were there. It was good to see. It was good to see, and it's good to get a bit of work out of this show that I'm doing. Now, when we did this show, which was born from the fact that we were all in lockdown, and we weren't really able to get to, well, we weren't able to get to any of the footy games because it was in different states, and I took it upon myself, I suppose, to try to bring our supporters closer because that's what I have done over the last few years. I've been one for the supporters out on the ground, always talking up our guys, and I've got to know a lot of you further to my playing days, a little bit more closely. And it was just nice to be able to use my stature, I guess, amongst some of the other past players and get them on and talk to them about what we were all feeling and what we were seeing about that really great run that we had in 2021. The team was up and about. They are a great team. They're a great team still. We took a year off, Davo. We had to because we got busy. We emerged from our lockdowns and work cranked. We all had to get to it, and so did I. So I wasn't able to really put the show together. I was on that show, Best on Ground, which isn't happening this year, unfortunately. We'll get into that a little bit later. So I really didn't have the time for Robbo Live, but I still wanted to do it. Had a chat to had a chat to Dave. I said, mate, we've got to get back to the show. And he was all about it. So here we are. We are back, Robbo Live. And what we are going to try to do is every week we are going to have a guest either sitting next to me here at the table in the studio or via Zoom, depending on who that guest is. So looking forward to it. Cannot wait. The family day was great. I would have seen most of you there. Dave, there was hundreds. I would say close to probably about 500, 600 people at the MCG to just to ring in this new year. It's the first family day we've had in, I think, 3 or 4 years. So it was great to be up on stage again, doing that, introducing all of our players. A lot of them were new players to be introduced to the family day. Let's go to the boards. Barry Laurie, he was there, Dave, every single show last year. Sylvia Uatulata, got that name right. Tori, cried with you. Yeah, a bit of a tear in the eye there when I was. It wasn't a smart idea to run a show when you're drunk, but we were just so excited, weren't we?
Well, you could see the resolution was shocking. That's because I was drunk too.
We had a great night. I'm sure everybody did. Where is the avocado, Yvonne? Now, for those that don't know, and I'm sure you all do, we started off because of the whole Melbourne Footy Club, the cheese platter. I wanted to do a show where we've got a cheese platter. I wanted you to get your cheese platter in your lounge room, sit down before the game, and have a cheese platter and a wine with me, and we'll preview the show, and I'll get a past player guest on. And I had my little cheese platter, and I had an avocado on it. And by the end of a month and a half, the avocado didn't look really like an avocado anymore. And that was 2 years ago, almost a year and a half ago. Guess
Have
what?
you still got it?
I've still got it. There it is. It was in the cupboard. Can you hear this? It's fossilized. There's no avocado left in that. That's the good luck charm. Unfortunately, I didn't do a show last year, and that's probably why we didn't win a premiership last year, is because it didn't have the good luck avocado out and about. So it's back, and it's on the table. I know you can't see it right now, but it's there, and it'll be there to the end. Theo, how are you, mate? Good to hear from you. Steve, how are you, mate? Georgina, how are you going? Good to hear from you. Louise, Rado. It's a petrified rock. That's exactly what it is. It's still with us. And it's going to be with us in 2023 as we roll through every single week towards, hopefully, another finals campaign, a successful finals campaign. But that's a long way off. We're into round 3. And we had a great win first round at the MCG. Second round wasn't what we'd hoped. But, hey, sometimes it is hard to travel, and it's not always easy to be great all the time. So, but that's what it takes, and I think the players understand that. Now, we're going to take this game apart with a guy that I used to play on back in the day, Tadag Kennelly, superstar. He was a superstar. He's one of those guys that could get by now. If his body was still okay, he would be the archetypical sort of halfback flanker, tall, with the ability to run. That was him, and I used to hate playing on him because his whole game was just run off and go. Absolute superstar. I've got him on the show. I've nailed him. He's going to be joining us by Zoom very, very shortly. But first, we just want to get through some of the stuff. So I talked about plenty happening since we won a VFL Premiership. Please write down anything that I miss here. What has happened since 2021? What has happened to you? What have you seen from afar? What are you excited about for 2023? Obviously, Brodie Grundy comes to our club. Robin Shoulders, can you say hi to my kids, Mason and Archie? How are you, Mason and Archie? It is so good to have you on Robbo Live. Great Melbourne supporters, no doubt. Are you going to the MCG this Sunday to watch us take apart Sydney? I'll be there. I missed the last game of the MCG. I had some work on. But I will be there this Sunday back in my familiar role, out of the ground, announcing all of that stuff. So I cannot wait. One game at a time, Jack Morrison. Louise is excited about JVR's debut on Sunday. Why don't we just jump straight into that? Because I'd been talking about this guy for a while, Dave. I went and watched the VFL Premiership Grand Final down at what do they call it now? Just call it Princess Park, because that's what it is. What it always was. Shocking day for football. Who went? It was awful, but we won the game. And Jacob Van Ruin had been playing in that side very well all year, and I'd hoped that he'd made his senior debut in his first year, but tough team to break into. I understand all of that. Benny Brown was getting the job done probably in places that he could play. Macca, obviously, Tommy McDonald's in that forward line. So, look, we wanted to see him play because this is a big kid. What's he, 190-odd centimetres, who holds down one of the hardest positions on the field with centre-half forward. He launches at the ball, which we love to see. He's got a bit of David Neitz about him, although David Neitz was an absolute superstar, so you don't want to sort of compare him to anyone, but he's got a bit of David Neitz about him, the way he launches at the ball and brings other players into the game, because you just know what you're going to get. So we're all excited to see him play. And I jumped on the Melbourne website, as I'm sure all of you do, to catch up with what's going on. And as they typically do these days, they film somebody's announcement that they're playing their first game. And I think we've got that. You got that footage there for me, mate? Can you find that and chuck it up for me now? Oh, you're quick. Go for it. Chuck it up for me. And I reckon it's just one of those really great moments to see a kid play there, get this now. Gone?
No,
Not there?
hang on. Here we go.
Oh, you've got it.
Rui, are you absolutely clear about what we need to do in that role? Yeah. Well, that's good, mate, because you're playing Sunday! Your day! Yeah!
It's awesome. That's awesome to see the emotion. Obviously, you couldn't see JVR's face as the players jumped all over him. But look at the smile on Benny Brown there. It's great. It's great. I mean, look, 18, 19, 20 years of trying to get somewhere. I remember my first game and when I found out. Let me tell you the story about my first game, Davo, and how I found out that I was playing. Can I? I know it's about the Melbourne Footy Club, this show, but I'm doing it.
Go on.
Yeah. So I had been on the rookie list all year and no chance of really playing. I played some pretty decent football. So, you know, if I was on the senior list, I probably would have been a chance. But you remember back in 1997, guys, who remembers 1997? Where were we? Where were we placed in 1997?
At school.
Yeah, you were at school. A lot of them probably weren't even born. But in 1997, pretty ordinary year, I got elevated to the senior list. And what would happen is you would go to the Junction Oval where we train and get yourself ready for training, massage, whatever. I'd like to get there a little bit early. So I reckon this is probably about 3:30 in the afternoon, back in the day where we did weights in the morning and then we would do training. And it's not like that anymore. You train all day. Okay. Back then it was, you could still go to work during the day. 1997, it was semi-professional. You were still going to work during the day or school or whatever it is that you were doing, and you come back in the afternoon and train. So I reckon probably about 4 o'clock I've moseyed into the change rooms. I'm getting changed, and Damien Gasper walks up to me and says, "Robbo, you're playing your first game for Melbourne this week. Did you know that?" I said, "No, I was so far from playing. There's no way, mate." He said, "I've just been into the meeting room. I saw your name on the board." So I got this little, oh, wow, maybe I'm playing. But how can I? I'm on the rookie list. Anyway, we go out to train, and Greg Hutchison, who was the coach at the time, pulled us all in and announced it in front of all of the boys that I was being elevated to the senior list. Dean Irving was dropping off the senior list after being injured, and I was going to be playing my first game against the West Coast Eagles over in Perth, played at the Wacker. First game on Johnny Worsfold. Yeah, there's a baptism of fire. It was scary, to say the least. But anyway, enough about me. JVR is going to be a recruit. I think he's going to be great. Bigger guys, they take a little bit longer to progress. They've held him back, and I think he's ready to explode. So, yes, I'm going to see Mally. See, David G. Friend's just written a message up there. Dave, I'm seeing Mally because she's got some pickles for me. I get pickles from Mally. Have done for years, and they are chef's kiss stuff. You like pickles? Green pickles? You don't?
No.
You like whiskey. What you like? Yes, Steve, I agree with you. Going up against the F1s this weekend, that's not great. I'm actually, who's going to the F1? I'm going for the first couple of days. I'm playing some music in one of the rooms there, a bit of solo stuff. Should be fun, but I will be fair and square in the center of that ground, doing all that warm-up stuff for you on Sunday, and then settling back in the stands with you to watch the game. Now, we're playing the Swans. How are we going to go? Who knows? But they've had the wood over us, Davo. Did you know this? I think they've had the wood over us over the last. I think you've got a graphic for me there. They've won the last two. I think I'm right in saying that. Last two encounters have been won by the Swans, and that's the numbers for you there. Close enough. I expect this to be a close game again. Lee Dowsett thinks it's going to be a 5-goal win on Sunday. I'm with you, mate. I'd like it to be more than that. Stephen May back in the side. I think he's important for us. All of these things, who's playing, who's not playing, the way we play, I want to talk to this guy about that now. Now, the Irish experiment, it goes back a while. In fact, I think Barassi was one of the first guys to head over to the Emerald Isle to find potential players. Their game is very similar to ours in that, I mean, the skill set is very similar. I know this because I did the combined thing, Australia versus Ireland, a few years back. And it is. The fact that it's a round ball is the only thing. But the running, the kind of running that you have to do, I know they don't hit and tackle like we do, but it's still a physical game. It sort of lends itself to our game a little bit. So that was the reason they went over, and they found Jimmy Steins and they found Sean White, two absolute superstars. Can you get rid of that thing for me, Davo, so I can see some of the comments here, because I want to talk about Jimmy and Sean. Give me some of your memories of Jimmy Steins and Sean White, because Jimmy we know, and we know what Jimmy's done for the Melbourne Football Club. But what about Sean White? I think he gets lost in this a little bit. The 80s for Melbourne there wasn't a lot of super success when Sean White was going around. It's probably why there was, the 90, 94, I suppose, was he playing in those games? I actually don't quite remember. But he was just so athletic. I remember seeing some of his clips going, wow, that guy was so athletic. Halfback flanker, back pocket, always really reliable, could jump so high. Kind of reminds me of Joel Smith, the way he goes about it now. Probably a little bit more durable than our Joel Smith, who's been really unlucky with injury. Irish was one of the nicest guys I ever met at training nights as a kid. Always had time for me. Aaron Cusack, that's nice, mate. Yeah. They were two success stories out of the Irish experiment. Since then, they've found others, and they will continue to find players over in Ireland. But one of the best to come out, one of the diamonds, or should I say one of the emeralds, to come out of Ireland, other than Jimmy and Sean, was Tadag Kennelly. Now, Ty, tall, fast, skillful, good leader, big engine, could run all day. I know this because I played on him. Hated playing on him because he was just always on the move. He had so much energy and could jump. He's the son of a County Kerry Gaelic champion, I think 5-time champion actually. The only Irishman, Tadag Kennelly, to win, Davo, he's the only Irishman to win both the Australian Premiership medal and the All-Ireland champ medal as well for County Kerry when he went back there to play. He played 197 games for the Sydney Swans, and he kicked 30 goals. Absolute superstar. And I found a little funny clip of him during the week. Davo, I think you've got it there. If you could chuck that up. Have a look at this before I jump straight in.
Tig, what's your nickname at the club?
Irish. Very original.
Very original. Who did you barrack for as a kid?
Kerry, my father's team, Gaelic football growing up.
What did you want to be when you were growing up?
Play football for Kerry like my father.
And you did.
And I did.
What's your favourite food?
Favorite food have to be spuds, potatoes, all type. Baked potato, mashed potato, boiled potato, and then throw some chips in with that. So, yeah, I'm a big spuds man.
You're not really living up to that Irish stereotype at all. What's your favourite place to holiday?
Ireland.
What's your hidden talent?
My hidden talent,
Yeah.
Irish cheek. I'm a great Irish folklore singer, and I like telling myth stories. I love story time. I sit around the campfire, eat my potatoes and telling myth stories.
What's your interest outside of footy?
Irish folklore stories. This is hilarious. This is going to be good material.
Be good. What's your superstition before a game?
Hey, I'm Irish. We're all a superstition.
Do you go looking for a foot?
Irish. How you going, mate?
What an introduction, Robbo. Jeez, that is impressive. That's one of the best I've ever heard.
I worked long and hard at that, mate. Long and hard. It's actually better than my own introduction that I gave myself. Which is
I love it. It's this show is about Melbourne Football Club, yeah?
Yes, it is.
What's
Yeah.
the title of this show?
Right.
Robbo Live.
I mean, you know me, mate.
I love the attention. I'm with you. I'm with you, man. All these washed up ex-footballers, we've got to cash in somehow.
Mate, we got to. What else have we got? We've got nothing anymore. We got to, mate. You got to work on the Tadag Kennelly show, the Irish show.
Yeah, let's go. A bit of Irish dancing, some spuds and Guinness, man. I'm telling you, that's a hit right there.
Oh, look at
I
that.
could probably get
Look at
Colin
that.
Farrell to play me.
Yeah. I love it. Well, I'm getting Brad Pitt. Hey, what about that background? What about the background there, mate? You look like you're not in Ireland, that's for sure.
One day of the year, it was about 50 years ago, having a day like this in Ireland. But I'm in Robbo Beach, chilling. Yeah, one more weak skinny latte, please. Thanks.
Yes. You are kidding yourself. I know where you are right now because I know that you're working for GWS at the moment. You're in the west of Sydney and you've worked the IT a little bit and put that wash in the background. Well played.
Well, I'm learning off these young folks. Have a look at me. I'm one of the cool kids now.
Well, I love Irish anyway. We'll stick with that one, mate. And look, the reason I've got you on, of course, the big game is coming up this weekend. Our two mobs are going to fight it out. Bit of a it's going to be interesting, and we'll get into it later. But I want to talk about you first. It's going to be an interesting game because Sydney have had the wood over us for a while now. So I'm looking forward to a big clash. We'll take that apart in a minute, but let's talk about you first, Irish. And I want to jump straight into, because the Melbourne supporters that are watching right now, we love our Irish man, Jimmy Steins. We still do, wherever he is now. But we've always he holds a special place in not just the Melbourne Football Club, but within the AFL, VFL psyche. What was he like for you as a young Irish boy coming out, part of that Irish experiment?
Yeah, man, he's the reason I was here. Honestly, Robbo, when you have someone with the same background as you and being able to achieve what Jimmy achieved, it just gave you confidence and belief to go, you know what, I can actually do this because someone from your own neck of the woods, basically, and neck of the woods being 15,000 kilometers away. So, but it was, it just gave you belief. And Jimmy, Jimmy, well, obviously that. His ability to make you feel uncomfortable and the growth that you get from being uncomfortable. Incredible, man. I was 18 years of age and he brought me down to Melbourne and I went to watch some footy and he had a gathering of about 1,000 people and it was for Reach and he's talking about, we've got this special guest up and I'm going, this is gonna be awesome, and then I'm sitting in the crowd and he's going, he's all the way from Ireland. I'm like, who's this? And I'm looking around, who's this bloke? And he's got his Tadag Kennelly. I was like, just absolutely froze, man. And he's got me to stand up on stage in front of 1,000 people with no microphone, no introduction, no one else, just me, sorry. And off I went. I was like, it was incredible. I was 18 years of age, but as you know, I can talk underwater, Robbo, so I was able to get out of it.
I know that. I'm pretty sure you used to be like this out on the field when we were playing near each other. Be like, shut up, mate.
I used to love playing against you, Robbo. It was such a breeze. Just get the ball on the ground and he's off. Get the ball on the ground, and this block will not move. No, I'll give you this. You could have a highlight. I'll give you that. You might have one
Hold on,
highlight. I'm going getting 3 Brownlow votes. I've had 35 and 25 rebounds from D50, and I've kicked 2. But you've had your highlight. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
You've had your
As
highlight.
long as I've had one highlight, I'm a happy man. And I reckon I'm pretty sure you were told, whoever it was, Rosie, hey, run off this guy because he doesn't like to chase. Is that what you copped?
Yeah, 100%, man. It's a bit like myself going out Western Sydney, getting a nosebleed. You're the same if you left your forward 50. You just grab your nose and you'd be like, oh, what? Someone else? Yeah, you got him. Yeah, that's right. It wasn't your best asset, was it?
I was just trying to be smart. I mean, like, well, you go, you can, because you would. I was always just see the back of your head, that nude nut of yours just running away from me. Like, well, I hope he doesn't get it because I'm going to wait here and get it on the way back. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Hey, I don't want to talk about that, but I do want to talk about.
No, let's talk about you. Let's keep talking about you. Okay.
Okay, twist my arm. No. The Sydney Swans, mate, the blood spirit. We obviously know a lot about our club down here, and we don't get to really understand that psyche, the real inner workings of the Sydney Swans. It's a proud spirit, isn't it? And it's something that's just developed over, I guess, the last century. The blood spirit. What is the blood spirit to you? And then go from that and talk to me about that premiership, because are you the only Irishman or the first Irishman to win a premiership in the AFL?
Yeah, one and only. I'm lucky enough to be the one. Jimmy obviously won the Brownlow. Noel, that was up to last year. And the 2 boys, and Zach and Mark O'Connor, obviously last year at Geelong. But the 2 boys don't have an All-Ireland medal. So I'm still the only bloke in the world with an All-Ireland medal.
I haven't got the 2.
You're talking to mate. You're a lucky man, Robbo. Get a bit serious. I suppose the Bloods culture. There was a big shift when Andrew Ireland and Ruzi took over. About attaching yourselves to the history of the club, and what I mean was the history of South Melbourne and the relocation and what the club went through nearly on the brink basically of extinction, and the people that moved up from Melbourne and the Barry Rowan that we just lost through Christmas. You saw the players in the weekend walking off the field with Barry Rowan's jumper.
Yeah,
and that's tying yourself back as a football club to who you are and where you've come from in your identity piece. And that's very much fabric of what happened with the club and the change in 2002 when Ruzi and Andrew Ireland, these types, took over the football club. And you understand that you're only passing through a football club, and the legacy piece is a big part of the football club.
Yeah.
From a playing perspective and a football perspective, it's the trust and the care piece for me. The care that the players have for each other has always been something that's pretty special at Sydney. And I think it's probably on the back of the fact that so many have to relocate from interstate, that everyone understands what a young man's going through. And myself, obviously, the homesickness piece, but and that all plays out on the football field. That care factor, the selflessness, because you understand what blokes are going through. Now, in a high performance level, it can be quite difficult to do that, as you know, Robbo. The fact that blokes are coming for each other, and you're coming to the end of a career, and you're trying to be selfless and help and develop and all this. But there's a genuine care factor in that football club, and clearly led by John Lombard now.
100%. And you guys were for a long time, and it's crazy when you think about it. There are clubs that just keep doing it, keep getting it done. There's Geelong, there's Hawthorn. They always say, well, Hawthorn seem to be bottoming out right now. But for a long, long time, they've always been really competitive. And year after year, the Sydney Swans, it's unbelievable. They just keep coming back. They keep finding really good players, and that blood spirit comes through. And you guys, every time we played you, we knew we were up against it. And that success that you guys had through that era, who the West Coast Eagles, obviously, those couple of grand finals you played against them, they must have been your toughest opponent. Who was the toughest team to play through that era, and who was your toughest opponent?
Well, it certainly wasn't Melbourne. It certainly wasn't you.
No.
I tell you what, to be fair, what happened when Ruzi took the football club that time, you modelled what the best did. In Brisbane at that time in 2002 with the best. We modelled our game to beat the best. And it's funny in a way when the club in 2017-18 was going through a transition. John did the same thing, looking at Melbourne. Okay, let's model our game on Melbourne and beating Melbourne. And Melbourne playing grand finals, winning grand finals. So in the club, then all of a sudden, you get confidence, the young man going, well, you're beating the best. So if you beat the best, why don't you just go and beat the rest? So you've got a game plan to do it and just implement it. It's a great tactic as far as as far as
Love it.
getting after it the best. And hence why I think the football club's got a good record against Melbourne recently, because they started, obviously, those younger players going, well, it's only Melbourne. We've been beating them the last few times because we got a game and a model to try and beat the best that are winning premierships. So back in that year, obviously, clearly, it was the rivalry we had with West Coast was outstanding. Initially, like I said, was Brisbane. We had the wood over Brisbane a lot in that 2002. They beat us in the 2003 preliminary final. It was their last one, really, when they got home. They were cooked, and the old fellas got them over the line. But definitely the West Coast period. And playing Cuz, I played a bit against Benny. And I remember playing the I'm not sure which granny it was, 6 or 5. I think it was 6. And it was halfway through the third quarter, and myself and Craig Bolton was to get Benny when he came forward, and I was absolutely flat. I was gone. I was, I was cooked. I'd had my 35, and I was happy to just park it there. But Cuz comes forward, and we kick the goal, and me and Bolty are walking back in the middle of the MCG grand final, 3/4 time. Halfway through the third, I'm not taking him. You're taking him. I'm not taking him. You're not taking him. I'm taking him. Mate, we've had a full-on argument, I'm telling you, and the ball is bounced, and Cuz is 1.5 meters from me and Craig Bolton, and none of us are taking him. I said, I'm not taking him, man. I'm absolutely cooked, mate. So I ended up taking him. I got Bolty, got it. But that year was pretty special, to play, and obviously playing success and whatnot. But, you've seen it now at the minute. The competition in Sydney, for Sydney to be able to stay up, they understand in Sydney, and people are probably south of the border don't understand that the competition up here for the dollar, for the membership, the sponsorship, the support base. We don't have that foothold as Melbourne does, So the club as a whole goes, well, we have to be competitive in the market and stay up. That was probably the best thing about watching Hawthorn last week, wasn't it? Seeing them bottom out for what they've done to Sydney for the last 10 years. Absolutely.
No sympathy.
No sympathy whatsoever. I hope they stay on there for another 10 years.
Yes.
It's what they did once for 2 grand finals.
They're unbelievable, that club. I think they average a premiership every 3 years. It doesn't look like it's going to happen, but they may amaze us. I hope the hell it's not. Hey, another thing on Benny Cousins, I understand why he didn't want to take, because the guy just never knew when to sit down and stop and just rest. It was just 100% the entire time. And if it's not just going on, he's running 100% just to get to somewhere. So I've come off the, I reckon we played over there in about 2003, 4. I've come off the, back in the day where they used to say it's in R4, just charge in and hit someone or get the ball or whatever back when you could. So I was the man for that moment. I've charged in, and Benny's coming for the ball. He's got his eyes on the ball. He's looking down. I'm thinking, oh, here we go. I'm going to get rid of the best player here. I'm going to knock him over. I smacked him so hard, fairly, side on both of us, but I got him a little bit on the body, and I thought to myself, he's gone. There is absolutely no way he's getting up from that. So I run off about 10 meters. I turn around, and he's getting up, and he sprints away, and I'm like, what the hell? Turned out I think he had 2 fractured ribs from that contest, but just insane. So hard to play on.
It doesn't surprise me, man. The toughness of him, and I think what happens, obviously, with everything's happened with his off-field, everything that's gone on, it's clearly diluted the impact as a footballer that he had, and as an on-field footballer, he was special, and we all loved how ripped he was, but geez, he could play, he could get the footy, he was smart, he was tough, he was inside, left foot, right foot, he had it all as a footballer, and I think that sometimes we forget that, but he was a tough bloody opponent.
Now I want to touch lastly before we move on to the game, mate. You spoke a little bit about Kerry and winning the All-Ireland medal. That no one's done that. No one's done the 2. No one else has done an Irish jig on a premiership dais too. So I don't think Colin Farrell's got enough in his repertoire to actually play you. There's so much that you've done. But you're a proud Kerry man, and you wanted to get back and get that done. I know it was hard for you because we talked about this. It was hard to get over there and life and all that sort of stuff. How did you actually get that done?
Yeah, I suppose people that are listening or watching, I grew up like most young men, idolising their old man. And the fact of the matter was my old man had captained Kerry and won 5 premierships or All-Irelands for Kerry. Yeah. So I had a lot to live up to. And I think when I came out here initially, he gave me the go-ahead to come out. If he'd ever said, don't come out, I would never have done it, But then he passed away 6 weeks after we won the premiership in 2005. And I think from that moment on, I was like, well, I've got to do this. This is something I want to do. I want to try and do what my old man did and win an All-Ireland, So And I'd had a couple of injuries in 7 and 8 and
Yeah.
dislocations and whatnot. So I was thinking, I'm getting old, I need to go and do it now. So I ended up getting back there on 9 and it was pretty tough. The shift, because I'd spent 10 years in Sydney, so the shift from a round ball to the over ball again, I found it a lot harder to actually shift from the over ball back to the round ball. You know, the round ball to the over ball actually was okay, but I was lucky enough to get back there and win the All Ireland. You know, it was a pretty special year. Obviously, it was quite emotional for my mom and family, and clearly myself. Obviously, after I think the expectation of the whole lot, I felt more pressured in that year alone than I did in 14 years playing as a professional athlete. Just the pressure I put on myself, and the history and whatnot as my family and my dad and whatnot. But not to say it wasn't pressure as a professional footballer, but I think it's probably the pressure I put on myself to do it. So it was a pretty special moment, and something that I'll never forget. And I'm clearly a very proud Irishman, proud Kerryman, and trying to instill that in my young kids now. They have no idea. I got my young fella giving me my 4-year-old giving me a great Irish accent. It's outstanding. I got my daughter doing Irish dancing, and I'm trying to get the 2 boys up there to do some Irish dancing in Sydney. So you got to keep it going, Robbo.
They don't have an Irish accent, the kids, at all? They don't have a little twang in there?
Not one little bit. Wow. Not even it's a couple of fucking Las Gaelga. It's a couple of words in Irish. That's it.
You just got to get them over there. Get them assimilated. Get them over there. Big holidays. They'll come back with a little bit of it. Mate, the last 2 times these 2 clubs have met, mate, you've got us. Tell me why Sydney have the Wooders over us at the moment, and then we'll crack into this game and what it's going to be like in the MCG on Sunday.
I reckon it's Sydney's speed. The way Sydney have moved the ball so aggressively the past couple of times that they've played, and it's something that's done and has shifted in the football club over the last 18 months. Everyone thinks of Collingwood with their aggressive ball movement and whatnot, but you look at the half back line and what they've got down there. They've got a lot of blokes that played like Tadag Kennelly, Oliver Florent, Nick Blakey,
not as good.
Braden Campbell. Yeah, that's right. Not as good looking. But, yeah. And their aggressive ball movement is something that gets, I think, Melbourne, and the speed at which they're able to move the ball. Sydney, remember, probably 4, maybe 5 years ago, and a really bad record at the MCG. Win about actually changing that by playing with speed and opening and spreading and stretching the ground out and playing, understanding, well, if we're to win a premiership, we got to do it the MCG, so we got to play a style. And that's what Sydney have done. They've shifted the way they play the ground, and to the detriment of what they've done at home games at the SCG. But again, last week, their ability to open the ground up and go through the middle, it's so aggressive, and people think of Collingwood, and I think that gives the looks to the kids that they've got forward now, Logan McDonald and the types, and their forward line's just impressive on paper. Haywood, Papley, obviously Logan, Bud comes in. You got some kids there that they're very impressive, and that's what Isaac jumping on people's heads.
And some goal kickers in the forward line. Logan was amazing last week, and Joel as well. Big, tall timber. You get Buddy back. Lucky we've got May coming back into the side, because I reckon you're walking into that as a backman. You're walking into that forward line going, geez, they're tall. We're going to have to be an absolute best today. Lever and May, they've got some size. It's going to be probably where the game's won and lost, I would have thought, because that's probably where Melbourne. There's a couple of things that Melbourne did wrong last week, and it started at the contest, middle of the ground. We weren't able to get our game going out of the stoppages, but also those big forwards in Brisbane were able to probably clunk the ball, so they'll need to stop that this week, won't they?
I think Melbourne, you're going to get your looks obviously forward of the ball, and it's just whether you can stop the I suppose the effects of Sydney's ball use going forward from that group. I don't think it's the toes that'll worry him, because I think May will get the Franklin. He's had the wood on him recently, and he plays him really well. So the week off would probably suit Bud, obviously, with his freshness. But who then goes to Amadi or Logan, and then Isaac gets off the chain, and Papley. So they've got a depth. And I think also the Swans' midfield depth is as big as anyone in the country now. Obviously, Mills has stepped up as a midfielder. Clearly was an intercept half-back, but he's last 18 months in midfielder. You try Errol Goulding, who's just an absolute jet now. He's becoming one of the stars of the competition, getting big numbers. But you're right. I think forward of the ball will be the issue for Melbourne. If they can limit the effectiveness of the ball coming out and help, which will help, obviously, clearly the Melbourne defenders.
100%. And you talk about Callum Mills, Luke Parker, Errol Goulding. 28 possessions, 2 goals for Callum last week. Luke, 1 goal, 27 possessions. And then Errol with 28 positives. they looked really, really good in there, and they're going to have to be good, aren't they, if they're going to be playing against one of the elite in the competition? Because Clary was, I mean, I know we talk about their midfield stoppages. Maybe the upset apple cart there was Max going down with his knee injury, but they weren't able to win those stoppages. But Clary was still at his devastating best in terms of possession getting and metres gained. It was probably the other guys that weren't quite up to standard. So you've got, like you said, two of the best midfield groups going head-to-head this week. I actually can't wait to see this contest.
Yeah, I'd love to see this as a grand final. You know, the two teams in the competition, you know, I think that really, you know, match up all over the ground well, and they're playing a style of football that, you know, that you want to go and watch and play and watch and see, and that's, you'd be excited if you would. But that's, I'm with you on this. I'm really excited to watch this game play and see it play out. You know, I think clearly the Swans have confidence over the past 2 weeks. Who they've beaten, you know, well, yes, they can, with all due respect, obviously, what Gold Coast and Hawthorn are at the minute. And this is the big challenge. You're playing a top 4 team that want to, you know, push on and try and get back into the grand final. Clearly, they'll be hurting last year. Melbourne in the first final went straight out in straight sets. And, you know, it hasn't happened for a long time in the competition. And I think it's a big moment for Melbourne Football Club to try and lay down a statement to the competition going, hang on a second, don't forget about us. You know, you can have your Collingwood in town, and they're talking about Richmond with the, you know, they got some big boys back in Carlton. Hang on a second, we're still the big boys in town. We only won a premiership a couple of years ago, so I think it's a big game for the Melbourne Football Club around the statement piece.
100%. Couldn't agree with you more. Ruckman, how important are they, mate? Obviously, I know, but for our supporters out there, we lose Max, but we've got Brodie Grundy who can step in and probably show what he's got now. That's another interesting piece for this game, isn't it?
It is. It's a huge piece. I think that's the piece, obviously, where you're paying the big dollars to go and get Brodie. The impact that Ruckman had. You know, the Swans didn't have one for quite a period of time. You know, they get Hickey, and it allows them to go on and playing grand finals. And the value that they had, you know, Callum Sinclair was a Ruckman for a long period of time because they, you know, Naismith was injured. He was the primary ruckman, but is injured. So you end up playing a second ruckman as your man. It just hurts you. You don't get primary use, and you're not predictable, and you're reactive as a midfield group. Obviously, Brodie and Gawn is two ruckman, genuine superstars of the competition. And that's what a lot of clubs and a lot of coaches will have sleepless nights when they're playing against Melbourne going, well, they're going to get first look at these midfield group of Melbourne. You know, it's how they actually can get on their toes and not be reactive and flat-footed, which Melbourne have seemed to be as a midfield group over the past couple of weeks. Yes,
100%. The ruck stocks, you talk about Hickey being out, Max obviously being out, that evens things up a fair bit there, I would have thought. So I reckon that middle of the ground is going to be the thing I'm going to be squarely looking at going, okay, because Sydney, I feel like they're doing exactly what you said, which was looking at the best in the competition and going, how are they going about it? Simon's got Melbourne playing this fast, frenzied, get it forward, go, fancy free football, and Sydney play almost the same way. So you've got two clubs. How good would it be to have the two cities in a grand final this year? Let's go for that. Now, there's one guy we haven't talked a lot about, and it's you've got a man love with the Chad Warner, and I think it's probably less to do with his football and more to do with his hair. Is that right? Is it a jealousy piece? Is it a jealousy thing with the
mate, you've got to go and see his two brothers. They've got the same haircut, and look, I hope his mum's not watching this, but she's a hairdresser, and it's horrendous.
What is she doing?
Mrs. Warner, I'm very sorry. Yes, the Chad is out there, and he can play. He's my favourite player by a long shot. You know, I love the way he goes about his footy. He's great. Like, no, I've said it before. Like, he reminds me of Judd. You know, he's not as polished as Judd, but his explosiveness and his ability to take the game on, his toughness. You know, hence why he's highly regarded at the football club.
Absolutely. I reckon a lot of young blokes in Sydney are going to go get the Chad haircut. It's
the Chad.
The Chad. It's the perm and along at the back. The party is at the back.
You know the perm's back. Can you
it's back.
It?
I can't believe it, mate.
Are you kidding me? Can you imagine going before you play your game? Saturday night, TV, big crowd. You're going in. You got a Coogee. Sorry, just get my weak skinny latte, and what time the perm be finished, and then I'll be finished off my fake tan and get everything bleached while I'm at it.
You'd be absolutely lynched back in the day if you went and got a perm or a bit long in the back. It's just things change. They change.
I can't talk about it, Robbo. I just one thing I can't talk about is hair. I can talk about anything else, man. You know? You've
Mate, I
got a
know
bit
it.
of Sean Connery going on, haven't you?
I've got the
Not Sean Connery. Am I talking about what's his name?
I've got the George Clooney's going on with the grey
I was
hairs.
going to give you that one. You're not going to quite George.
Oh, mate, I tell everyone I got the George Clooney's. No, I'm still holding on to my hair, mate. So that's the main thing. All right, at least I've got some.
True. Look, I'm going to have to do Joel Selwood on it. I think it might be interesting to come back with.
You've got the premiership medallion, mate. Remember that. I don't have that. That wins. Now, mate, thank you so much for jumping on Robbo Live with me. I really appreciate it. I cannot wait to see this game on Sunday. Who will have bragging rights? You've had them for the last couple of years, that's for sure. But if they play like they played in the grand final last year, I'm hoping they play like, I hope they play like that for our sake, because we need to get back on the winners list.
That game is well and truly gone. That's in the past, and that's shifted. And I think that's well gone in Sydney's memory. But yeah, you're right, man. Thanks for having me, Robbo, and Robbo Live for the Melbourne Football Club. For Robbo, I forgot.
No, we'll work that out later. It's a bit more for me.
Do I invoice Melbourne? Yeah.
Invoice the Melbourne Footy Club.
Right. See you, mate.
Thanks, Irish. You're a legend, brother. Thank you. An absolute legend. I love that guy. Just so energetic, so much fun, all-round nice guy, very Irish. A lot of low-hanging fruit in some of that back and forth. Anyway, great chat. I think he's right on the money. Sydney are really dangerous. They're going to be hard to beat. Reading some of the comments, I still think that we're probably the favourites to win at the MCG, rightly so. How much by, though? That's what I want to know. And why? Give me some of your comments. Why are we going to win this one? May is back, obviously. Does Grundy get the job done? They haven't got to recognise Ruckman, of course. But does he get the job done? I can't wait to see his game, actually, to see him really wear the colours and officially be the Melbourne Football Club Ruckman. That's an exciting moment for him. So, yeah, give me your thoughts on that one. They've got some tall forwards, but we get May back. We can't wait to get Cozzy back. How good was he in round one? His energy, he looked like he'd turned a corner from last year, where I feel like he was, getting lost a little bit around that wing area. He had a big job there. He had to try to get that ball out. Ball coming out of defense, he had to be that guy with Benny Brown, the link-up guy, to get it into the forward line. And it just wasn't quite happening for us. Getting into our forward line last year was a little bit tedious. But this year, and from what I've seen in the preseason games, Bailey Fritsch down there, you got Ben Brown, you got now Van Ruin in there, you got Cozzy, you got some really quick players too in and under. Spargo can kick goals. Once we get that ball into that forward line, once we get that connectivity going, Sydney have really mastered it over the last few years. On the back of watching us win that premiership, they play like us. So we get back to that. Now, you guys, and I'll go to the comments here. Tori, Tori's just made a good comment. Job gets done as we have new players, which is unknown for Sydney. They won't know a game plan for them. It's my thoughts. And that's really astute, Tori. It's true. We are a different team. We really are. Without Max, we're a different team. We don't have Jackson anymore. We've got Grundy. We're a different team. We play. Look, I know this. I sat down and had a coffee with Adam Uze, and we do this. I catch up with Adam Uze, Nathan Brown, Daniel Ward, some really close mates of mine, and we still catch up. We try to catch up weekly. And we talk about the game. We talk about our demons all the time. It's the number one subject. And Uze, in the pre-season, was telling me about his job and what he has to do to prepare this team to be a different team in 2023. We can't be the same carbon copy 2022. That's not going to work. So some of the stuff that I was reading is really exciting, and it's just like, wow, yeah, awesome. The brains trust down there at Melbourne is really, really good.
I reckon that's a pretty good comment on the screen right there.
Irish looks younger than Robbo. Oh, Claire, he's got no hair. So that's the grey effect. And you can't talk. You got the grey hairs as well. You're just like me. You're right, Michelle. 100% different. So I think we're smarting a little bit after what happened to us last year against the Swans. They really got us on the MCG. That's our home turf. That's our ground. So get along to this game. Are you coming on Sunday? What is it, 3:20 or something like that? Not a great time to play football. Let's be honest. But get along and shout loud for your D's. It's our home ground. And I was really surprised, Dave, last year when Sydney played against us. The Swan supporters are still big at Melbourne, in Melbourne. They're still there, aren't they? The old South Melbourne vibe. Yes, so that graphic, it's there. It's not far away. This game against Sydney bounced down at 3:20. I was right. I think we get the win too. So looking forward to this one. Now, I talked about the supporters and the lifeblood and how important they are. Yes, they're important game day, but they're also what it's all about. Peter Jackson, who was our CEO for a long time, through those really ordinary years, coming out of some real bad times and getting us to Paul Roos, to getting us to the next level, getting us to a better team. He talked about in his speeches to you and to whenever we were having a function, he would talk about football is two things. It's the players and it's the supporters. All of the rest of it just helps get it going, getting it happening on the park. And that can be whatever, but it is about the supporters and the players. And one of those supporters is Shani McAlpin, and I want to do a shout out for Shani. Got a message to my Facebook Live page during the week for a shout out to Shani. Shani McAlpin is a massive Melbourne fan, as you can see there. A mother, an amazing woman, and I'm going to read verbatim the message underneath here. The amazing woman, someone I am proud to call a friend, is terminally ill with the big horrible cancer. And unfortunately, this battle, she cannot win. It's her last days. She has pushed through all the pain to drive through Australia with her two babies, Lily age 10 and Harrison age 8. Shout out to Lily and Harrison. To give them memories that they can have with their mum. I would like any spare change you have so you can take a little bit of stress off mum and help the children make some happy memories. The funds will also help to get the children home, as Shani will not be returning from WA. So it will also help with flights home. That moment arises. Thank you all for reading. So have a look at that if you can. If you've got the time, have a look at that on Facebook. And just wanted to do that shout out for one of our very special Melbourne supporters. Good on you, Shani. Go well. We play the West Coast Eagles next week, Davo. Is that right?
Yes, you do.
And looking forward to it.
Could be good for a win, I reckon.
Davo's a West Coast Eagle fan.
Suffering West Coast fan.
They've been all right this year. For the last couple of years, they're pretty ordinary. So I'm hoping that they stay ordinary because we're going over there and we're going to do another Robbo Live next week, Davo. And your mate, the guy I used to play on, who lives down the road here, may join us. What are the chances of getting Bluey McKenna on the show?
Mate, I think it's a good chance.
What do you?
I've heard he's the most successful Gold Coast coach ever. Is this true?
It's not hard. Let's be honest. Bluey would be great to get on the show.
He would.
And I'd love to get a Melbourne player on the show at the same time. Can I get your suggestions? Who would be a great... if you've watched all the Robbo Live shows, you'll know who that we've had on. Who would you like to see talk to Bluey? I'm thinking maybe like a Paul Hopgood type or maybe a Rod Grinter type would be great because they played in a similar era and they could talk about... And look, we'll preview the game and it'll be wonderful.
You know who I'd want?
Who?
Alan and Glenn Jakovich.
Oh, my God.
Together.
That would be just
Kiss of death.
Mount Everest if you could get Alan in.
Maybe the finals, but yeah, that would be gold.
One of that great.
Mate, Bluey and someone would be good. I think it would be great.
Bluey, Glenn and Alan, the brothers kiss on the MCG that day when Alan was taking Glenn apart. I love that. Yeah, Jackie reckons Rod Grinter. Yvonne reckons they need to bring back Hell's Bells and the Heartbeat as the players come out. Yeah, I absolutely love that song too. What I don't like, Dave, is how it's really sort of pump up music. It's all like it's AC/DC, it's all guitar, and then as soon as they break through the banner, it's just doesn't work. I don't like that. Anyway.
At least the Melbourne theme song's good. You don't hear the Eagles song very often, but when you do, they've changed it, and it's not very good. And they play Eagle Rock straight away.
Yeah, Eagle Rock.
You know the Brisbane Lions theme song is actually the French national anthem.
Yes, it is. They all come from somewhere like Lily or Laguna for the Blues. They've changed them all. The game's coming up. Did you flash that up for me, Davo, already?
I can give it a go.
See if you can find that for me and chuck it up. Game's coming up there. Look how quick he is. Sydney Swans, obviously, this weekend. We've got the Eagles 5:20 over there on a, I can't see, what day is that?
It'd be a Sunday, probably.
It'll be a Sunday. And then
We
we've got the
usually play
Bombers. That'd be a good game. The Bombers playing with a little bit more freedom at the moment. And then the big clash, I think it's the Anzac Day clash against the Tigers. All roads will lead to the MCG for that one. That's been Robbo Live, the very first one for 2023. I'm excited to be back. I can't wait.
Are you? I mean, where were you for the first 2 weeks?
I was busy. Okay, I was
Okay.
busy. I think. No, was I? No. We just decided we're going to do it because you put it out there.
Bit of consistency would be good, don't you think? Turning up, everyone, week on week. I mean, I think if you could just show up, typical forward, isn't he? He just lurks around that forward line, turns up when he wants, needs whiskey. I don't know, guys. I think you guys should get stuck into him. So make sure he turns up every week. Bring your mates.
Mate, well, this is the thing. The Melbourne supporters are used to me, and I didn't show up every week. But by Jove,
This is the season.
when I showed up, it was something special. What? Every 5 weeks or so?
Do you want me to play the intro video again?
No, yeah, well, I do. I won a best and fairest, I'll have you know.
Did you really?
Yeah. Consistent. You got to be consistent to win a best and fairest. Second in a couple of years later when Travis Johnson
What
won
year? What year did you win?
it. 2003.
Wow. Okay.
Thank you.
That's pretty
That was good once. Thanks for joining us again. Sylvia, you've always been here. Louise, Jackie, Steve, the same names. Yvonne, my beautiful Yvonne. Great to have you, Nicole. Maddie, where's Maddie? I haven't heard from him tonight. What's going on there? He must be at work. The usual suspects. Okay, so before I go, this is what I want you to do. If you're going to the game, get involved with Robbo Live next week or even during the week. On Sunday, take a photo of yourself at the MCG or any support or anything you see wild at the MCG this Sunday. Send it to us so that we can have you up on the screen next week. I want to show your wonderful smiling faces. If you see someone with a face paint, you've dressed yourself up, you're at the MCG, just take a photo and send it to me, and I'm going to chuck you up on the screen for all to see.
Matt just got home.
What's that? Matt just got home. He's been at work. Good on you, Matty. I hope you've been at work and not at the pub, mate.
You haven't missed anything, Matt.
Hey,
You
they
have
can watch
actually.
It.
You
They
have.
can watch it.
It was a very, very good episode, and we will be publishing it to all of those channels.
Yes, exactly. So check it out online during the week. Thank you for joining us this week. We'll be back next week before the big West Coast Eagle game.
Eagles.
Cannot wait for that one. I've really enjoyed being back on Robbo Live. Less drunk than the last time.
I think we're going to cue the intro again. What do you
Play that
reckon?
video again.
Let's go again.
Love
See you
it.
later, guys. Have a great week.
Then had a flying shot of the goal. Out of nowhere! You go Smithy. It'll be a long way to beat that. Michael Roach is leads in the Robertson. It's coming home. It's coming home, Ben. Miller, the curse is finally over. The curse is finally over. Remember, guys, we wrote the rules of the game. We wrote the rules back in, what was it, 150 years ago. We wrote the rules. This win is largely due to the support of you guys. Hey guys, we're back again. Russell Robertson live. Robertson! Out of nowhere! Robertson!